I am Peter, and I am excited to be talking to you today about homes. And it's really one that has caused some consternation for me. And so that's really why I took the opportunity here to put this presentation together called How Home Warranties Work and How You Can Avoid the High Cost of Repairs. Because I think a lot of people have heard about home warranties, but they're unsure of how they work. And I just want to give you some of the structure of them so that if this is something that you're thinking about, if you're a homeowner, if you're a property owner of some sort, it may be worth considering. Now, we're going to step out here and talk about disclaimers. I am not endorsing anything in particular. We are not recommending any of these particular companies. I'm going to name a number of them, and you can go out and definitely get quotes from them, explore them, look at the different options. I'm going to talk in large generalities about how the home warranties work and the prices, but none of that is meant to be accurate in perpetuity. Please go out and do your own research. Let's dive into it. Your home, it's probably something that you love. You're probably very invested in your home. You spent some time finding it. But on the flip side, there was a movie from the 80s called Money Pit. It may be a very expensive investment. Regardless, even if it's a newer home, it could be pretty expensive. You bought an older home or a fixer-up. There could be a lot of things to consider when you are maintaining and continuing to take care of your home. What we're going to cover today, I'm going to explain some of the costs of home ownership, what you can generally expect, some rules around that. I want to explain how home warranties work. I'm going to talk a little bit about how to avoid probably the most common problems that people have with home warranties. And then I'll give you some things to consider as you are thinking about, is it a good option for you? And if it is, how can you look at the different competitive products out there and decide what might be right for you? So first of all, how do we protect a home in the current model? So if you own a home, typically most people will have homeowners insurance. And this is a great product. It's a great coverage for covering things that are generally considered hazards, perils, disasters, accidents, things like a lightning strike or a fire, sometimes an accident within the home, but they're usually these catastrophic type of failure coverage. The other things that need to be covered were the regular types of things usually are paid out of our own savings, our own cash flow for things that we need to maintain, a new coat of paint, the filters on the water system or the furnace, those types of things, right? So there's a lot of things that between the insurance covering kind of the disasters and you covering the regular things, there's usually a decent amount of coverage, but most of that is provided by us as homeowners. Now, a lot of these things can be very expensive. So whether it's an air conditioning unit, I took a look and the average air conditioning unit replacement is $3,800. The average furnace replacement is about $3,000. Even the smaller things like our appliances, a typical refrigerator can be $600. And I was looking, and there are some $3,000 refrigerators out there too that don't even seem that flush with features. All of these things end up being, I think, quite a bit more than a lot of people expect, especially if you're a first-time homeowner. Being from the financial services industry, what did we recommend to people usually as a budgeted amount to cover the cost of maintaining your home? There's a couple of rules out there. The rules of thumb, first of all, it's a 1% rule. It's 1% of your home value per year. And so let's say you have a $200,000 home, 1% of that would be $2,000 a year. So it's probably a good ballpark number that you should have about $2,000 to. On the flip side, there's a $1 rule, which is $1 per square foot of your home per year. So let's say you have a 2,000 square foot home, times $1 would be $2,000 a year. So in this case, maybe both of these would be about the same amount of money that you would need on an ongoing basis to maintain your home. And if you just think about all the things that go into just maintaining your home, furnace filter, roof repair, a broken shingle, garage door seal, broken dishwasher, maybe a stove burner won't light, maybe your washing machine needs to be replaced. And then not only just the actual cost of those products and supplies and parts, but the labor to usually put them in. This list is slightly biased. These are all things that have happened to me during the home ownership period. That's why it's easy for me to rattle this one off. But $2,000 a year is no small amount. That's $166 a month, and can often be very hard to take that kind of money and put it into a fund for future repair to have that kind of designated. So a lot of people don't. They just will think about using their savings for it. So here's one of the realistic problems that people have as they are purchasing a home. Here's the flip side of it. When I started an apartment, I was saving money for a down payment for a home. So I had all the savings. And then when my wife and I found the perfect place, we closed on it. We used a bunch of that money to not only buy the home, but prepay a year's worth of insurance, to buy furniture, to do some landscaping and coat of paint and more cooking supplies and all that. And so the catch-22 almost is that you end up with less savings and you have more exposure to potential expenses, right? So you were renting before with a lot of savings. Now you own a home with very little savings. And there's a phrase for this: house rich, cash poor. And it's one of these things where you've done all this work to get into a house And now the house is causing you some exposure where you actually need that cash. Something to keep in mind here. Now, I want to tell you a true story. This is about my furnace. This was about 3 years ago. I was having all my regular maintenance done. The HVAC guy came and he was doing the furnace cleanup and the AC and all that. And he said, hey, I want to let you know, I was working on your furnace and you're looking a little old, or looks like there might be some stress fractures starting to happen and things like that. And so I'm going to guess that you'll probably need a new furnace. It might be this year, it might be in a few years, whatever it might be. And I said, okay, so how much would that be? And he said, if I just replace the part, it could be as much as $3,000. If I replace the whole thing, it could be $3,000 or $4,000. But he gave me an estimate for replacing just what he saw, which is not necessarily comprehensive, for $3,300. So I freaked out and I went online and I said, is that a legitimate number? Having never replaced, parts in a furnace before, is that reasonable even? And I found out it is. And in fact, a lot of people spend $6,000, $7,000. A number of homes have multiple furnaces, which I didn't know either. I said, wow, that's a lot. I'm going to either have to start saving up. This thing could go out in the next few months or next few years. And that's really where I came across the idea of the home warranty. And so that's where I really did my research, and I'm going to share that with you. So the question is, what is a home warranty? And the definition of a home warranty is a residential service contract that covers the cost of maintaining or repairing household systems or appliances for a set period of time. It is a service contract. And that's, I think, the best way to think about it is that you're paying so that someone will come when you need it at your beck and call to take care of some of these smaller repair and maintenance types of things. So everything from a refrigerator, plumbing, your garage door opener, air conditioning units, appliances in the kitchen, hot water heaters, furnaces, those types of things. There's a lot of things in your home. A lot of them maybe are a few $100s to repair or replace. Some of them could be a few $1,000s to repair or replace. And so it's just this general contract. Now, I will say, we'll talk a little bit about it later. Some things are included in some contracts and not in others. So you definitely have to compare and contrast when you're looking at the different options. And the first thing a lot of people say is, if something goes wrong with these things, doesn't my homeowner's insurance cover that? Again, it's really perils, hazards, disasters, accidents. That's what insurance covers. Maybe your roof gets hit with hail and it needs to be replaced. The insurance company might step in on that case. Maybe a bear breaks into your home and destroys things. That might be covered. But if your refrigerator seal is just starting to go bad with age and leaking, that is probably not going to be covered by insurance. If your hot water heater, over time, the mineral rods corrode and the valves stop working and those types of things, that is not a hazard of repair and accident. Those are just kind of maintenance items. So in that case, you are on the hook for it. Now, there are a number of myths, I think, around home warranties. And when I talk to people about them, usually the first one is, it's going to cost me a lot of money up front. I'm going to have to pay thousands of dollars up front to have my whole house covered. And that's generally not true. What we talk about is it's usually a smaller monthly fee to get home warranties. The other thing is that it's never worth it. I think when we look at warranties in general, especially say when you go to an electronics store, you buy a TV and they say, hey, would you like the extended warranty on it? What we think is that it's not worth it because the TV usually has a manufacturer warranty under it. First of all, that might cover it for a few years. On top of that, because it's a depreciating asset, you say, hey, once that warranty runs out, the TV isn't going to be worth anything. Why would I pay for extended coverage on it? So I think in a lot of ways, we're conditioned that warranties aren't of much value. And then the third one, I think you'll see a lot, and you'll maybe see reviews online, and some of these are valid. And I'll explain why I think these end up being rejected, but that any claim you put in is just going to be rejected, that the companies are just out there to collect your money and to just make it as hard as possible for you to get covered on anything. And so I think these are three general myths, and I don't want them to warn you off about taking a look at it if it's right for you. Now, let's talk about how the home warranties work and how they cover your home. First of all, they're split into two different categories. So home warranties will usually cover what's called systems of your house. That are things like your hot water heater, your furnace, your air conditioning unit, maybe your electrical or your plumbing, the systems of your house. These are things that are really a part of your house. If you were to sell your house, these are all things that would go with it in most cases. And if you want to cover just systems of your house, those embedded inherent systems, it's probably going to cost you, let's call it $25 a month. I think that's a general ballpark number for the typical average home. The other side of the coverage is usually called appliances. And these are all things that aren't necessarily built with your house, but you put in. Usually the owner will choose a lot of these things, like your refrigerator, your dishwasher, your stove, your oven. It can even be your laundry machine or your dryer in some cases, or some other appliances if you have them, your microwave. And I think that all makes a lot of sense. And often covering these on a monthly basis is about $25 a month, right? But because home warranty coverage is available for either one or the other, they certainly will bundle it. And that's usually where you'll get the best value, because instead of paying $50 a month for both coverages, it'll be, say, $40 a month. So you usually get some break point here for covering both pieces of the picture. Now, like most insurances, even though this is a service contract, like most insurances, you're probably familiar with the idea of a deductible. So anytime you have a repair or you need service and someone comes and fixes it, you're going to be on the hook for part of it. This is what encourages you not to keep just submitting things every time something comes up. It really makes you determine, hey, do I want to put this through, pay my deductible portion? Often the deductibles can be anywhere from $20 to $50 per service or per item. And they can go up to $100 or even a little more sometimes. That helps reduce the monthly cost on them. But you as a consumer get to choose what deductible you want in the plan. For example, if you have a plumbing repair and the home warranty company sends out a plumber to fix it and he produces a bill and it shows $500 total, but your deductible is $50, he's just going to take a $50 payment from you at the time of that service. And then you're done with it. That other $450 due for the service is going to be handled through your warranty company directly to that service provider. And so you will just usually charge your credit card, cash, check, whatever it is, usually all the standard payment methods. And so that's really the nice thing. That's where you really see the value in how much money it's saving you. Another question I get a lot is, I don't know that I'd be able to get coverage. My house is really old. It's a vintage house, probably a lot of things that are probably suspect in it. Most home warranty companies don't require an inspection. If you sign up for the warranty, it doesn't exclude anything. It just will cover everything regardless of how old or how new. There is a catch. There's usually a 30-day waiting period from the time you sign up. So what you can't do is say, hey, my air conditioning is on the fritz. I need that home warranty now, so I'm going to sign up for it and then call tomorrow and submit a claim. Doesn't work that way. You sign up for the warranty and then the clock starts. For 30 days, you can't submit a claim. Nothing will be approved. It's just a way to ensure that you're not signing up because you have an immediate need, if that makes sense. But once you're through that 30 days, then the warranty is active immediately for anything that you have beyond that. All right. So here's another thing to keep in mind about how you have to use a home warranty. If you are taking care of your home and maintaining it on your own, you're going to usually go through Angie's List or Craigslist or Thumbtack and find a vendor, maybe the Yellow Pages, if you remember what those were. You're going to call up a guy, hey, I need this repaired, or maybe call a few people. You're looking for some quotes. You're going to call them directly and schedule. But when you have a home warranty, that gets intercepted by the warranty company. So what you're going to do is you're actually going to call your warranty company or go online to their website or submit through their ticket portal or whatever it is, what you need done. And then they will arrange for a service provider to come out. So this does a couple of things for you. It actually has a number of surprise advantages. So it makes scheduling quite a bit easier because many of these warranty companies, when you go in and submit a claim, you'll maybe select, hey, I have a problem with my garbage disposal. It's a plumbing issue. And you kind of answer some questions, and then it will give you the scheduler and say, hey, when do you want someone to come out? And you'll just select a convenient time for you. And then the warranty company will take care of that. Find a service provider that can come out at that time. And that's pretty good because you don't have to bother with that. The other thing that they do, are they have pre-negotiated contracts with service providers. They're pre-screened. And so you don't actually have to, one, try to read reviews. Is this person trustworthy? Did they do a good job? Do they have good rankings? You also don't have to worry about like how they get paid, like what payment methods they take. And on top of that, you don't have to care about like how much they would charge for that service. A lot of times when we're booking something privately, it's you get a quote for $250 and $300 and $220. So you're taking the cheapest provider. In this case, you don't have to keep shopping it around too, because those providers are handled by the warranty company. Some surprise advantages, actually, I think, for most of us in the consumer space to get these things done pretty easily. Now, another catch here is that the repairs are determined by the provider. So what you would do is you would report a problem. Let's say your washing machine is having a problem on the fritz, broken, smoking in this case. You report that. They would send out a service provider. They would look at it and decide whether they're going to repair it or if they're going to replace it. So you can't say, hey, I'd rather just have a new one. That's not how it works. They decide what they're going to do and they will take care of that. Usually what's in the best financial interest of the home warranty company. Now, in some cases, I will say there's an exception here that sometimes they will say, hey, we're going to repair it. And you say, hey, I would like it replaced. They will cover what they would have spent on the repair. And you will have to put in the extra money if there's an additional cost for replacing it. Say, hey, the repair is $100 cheaper, but if you want to pay the other $100 just to replace the item, sometimes they will do that. So that's something that you got to keep in mind. There are also a number of things that are offered from home warranty companies specifically excluded. Roof replacements are usually not in any home warranty contracts. And roof replacement is not usually covered by home insurance companies unless it's the result of damage or hail or something like that. However, many home warranty companies will cover leaks. So they will fix a leak if you have it, replace the shingles, do some drywall repair if need be. Garages, these are another thing, the devil's in the details. The garage door openers are usually covered. So if that's not working, they'll come out and send someone out to fix it. But usually those springs that help lift the garage door are not covered. So the spring would be something that you'd have to replace on your own if it broke. But the garage door opener itself, you could do it. Again, on refrigerators, often the refrigerator is covered in most contracts, but things like the ice maker might not be. So some refrigerators don't even have ice makers. Some have them as a separate add-on piece, but because it's its own thing and maybe often has problems, a lot of home warranty companies will specifically exclude the ice maker. The other thing that are often excluded are what they call second appliances. So some people have a second freezer in their garage, maybe they hunt or they have a lot of food or a big family, whatever. Usually the second appliance, other than your primary appliance, is not covered. Okay. Now, there are usually a lot of things that are not included in home warranty contracts, but can be added with an additional rider or what they call a special add-in if you have a pool. So a lot of homes have pools with them. Usually those aren't covered, but you usually can pay an extra monthly fee to have your pool covered. Maybe you're on a well or a septic system, you live in the country or have those individual systems. Usually those aren't covered, but some companies allow you to add those in for an extra fee. Even things like coach houses and guest houses, depending on how much square footage they have, or pool houses, can be added on. Sometimes there's sinks, plumbing, bathroom, heating, cooling. And so that's nice to be able to just add that on to your existing contract. The other thing that is treated separately are what we call premium brands. So there are a number of premium brands in the appliance world, like this Viking here. You may have chosen to upgrade to this. This is not something that's standard or typical. So if you have a problem with it, often the coverage is going to be limited. So what they will do is maybe cover it up to the cost of the traditional appliance, but anything above that, because you have a premium brand, would have to be paid out of pocket. So just kind of keep that in mind too, if you really like premium brands or upgraded appliances when you moved in or bought a place or built a place. Now, what about investment properties? You have a rental property, you have a house that you rent out to people. Can that be covered under warranty? In fact, absolutely. Most of these companies are happy to cover investment properties. If you have a refrigerator that goes out, it can be a really convenient way to handle it because now you're just telling your warranty company. And in my case, with an investment property, when my tenant's dishwasher went out, I just reported that to my warranty company, actually gave them the name and the phone number of my tenant, and they booked directly with him the appointment. So I was totally taken out of it. And then they just took a credit card for my deductible over the phone. So it's actually really easy that way to do it as opposed to contacting a vendor and then having them contact a tenant directly. So that can be nice too if you're in the real estate investment world. Now, avoiding bad experiences. There are a number of reasons that when I read reviews out there that are usually negative, they usually stem from not understanding the contract. So the contracts are in pretty plain language. These are not usually like home mortgage contracts that are filled with legalese. They usually have little paragraphs that say dishwasher and they explain what's covered in the dishwasher, what's not, what brands. So they're very easy to peruse, especially if you were like me when you were thinking about like a furnace repair. If you have something on your mind that's causing you some stress, I would read that section very diligently, right? Get a really good understanding of what each of those contracts will offer or don't offer in that space so that you can know. Now, that doesn't mean that you won't actually put a claim on something else at some point and maybe you haven't read everything, but really understand the contract. They are pretty easy to read and a little fun because you get to see some differences between things, and then understand the plan limits too. So these are usually pretty general. This is not necessarily standard, but often home warranty companies will limit $2,000 per appliance. So if it needs to be repaired, they will cover up to $2,000 for repair or replacement and up to $10,000 for the year. So let's say you have, in this case, 5 appliances that were all $2,000, or you needed a furnace repaired and it was $4,000. You've used $4,000 of your $10,000 limit for the year. That's could be probably still really good coverage, maybe more than you would ever put in. We looked at the 1% rule. Maybe you're only expecting to spend $2,000 on any 1 year. So sometimes those can be really good. But if you really have a lot of expensive things, you have a lot of suspect work that might need to be done, these could be really relevant to you. Other things to consider, you still have to do your maintenance. Now, some home warranty companies will even cover some maintenance, like furnace filters or things like that. But in most cases, you still have to replace your water filters, your refrigerator water filters, your furnace filters, add salt to your water softener, whatever it might be, though those things are still on you. And in fact, it's usually part of the contract that if you don't do those things and you have damage, in those cases, they wouldn't be covered. And Another thing to consider is maybe you don't need it. Maybe you're flush with savings. There's no way you're going to outspend your money. That's absolutely fine and legitimate. And maybe you bought a new home. A lot of new homes, the house itself is covered under the manufacturer warranty. A lot of the appliances are brand new, so they're covered under the manufacturer warranties for that. So maybe you just don't need a separate warranty at all, right? You've got plenty of coverage. Maybe you're not even exposed. So that's very possible. The common users that will look at this, some of them fall in the category of, hey, my savings is a little thin. I'm worried about the exposure to doing some of these high cost repairs because I can't float it right now, or I'd have to put it on a credit card. So that's one case. Some people have that money, yet they're just worried about the unexpected expense. What if I had to replace my furnace for $4,000 or $5,000? I might have the money, but it would really put me in an uncomfortable position. So these are some of the common users. Now, also understand home warranties are not free. And even if they are cheap, a $40 a month fee for your service contract comes out to almost $500 a year. So you have to think about, hey, how much would I spend, or do I expect to spend maybe $1,000 or $2,000 maintaining my house versus being sure that I'm going to pay $500 to cover my house with a home warranty. So some of these things are a little bit of a trade-off. You got to just figure out what your comfort zone is, right? If you get a home warranty, you're committed to the cost of the home warranty, but maybe you have some limited exposure to the upside. Otherwise, you could take it on and maybe you don't spend $480 on maintenance. Maybe you get lucky in that year. So some things to consider there. And then regardless, even if you have homeowners insurance, really good coverage on that, even if you have a really comprehensive home warranty, there are just some things that aren't going to be covered by either, right? Say maybe some of the artwork on the wall or the paint or some of the furnishings or whatever it might be. There are just a number of things around the home. You just can't break a dish being clumsy, pulling out of the cabinet and expect someone to cover. That's probably going to be on you. There's just always going to be some personal exposure. So you're going to want some savings, but sometimes a home warranty can help you make sure that some of these unexpected things, which are going to be your responsibility, put you in a more comfortable place. You'll be able to know you can take care of those things because you won't have to take care of the really big things. So how do you shop around? There are numerous articles from some really reputable places like Consumer Reports and other financial websites that talk about good home warranty companies. A lot of them will compare them, show you what the different features are. Hey, this one is really good on deductibles. This one is better on coverage. They will even maybe put in some tips like, hey, if you live in a older home, this is a better warranty for you. If you live in the city, this is a better warranty. So it's really good reading. You can go out and find out a lot. Here are a number of some of the home warranty companies. There are a handful more. So you have a lot of options and you can absolutely go on most of these sites and get some quotes. The other thing you can do in some cases, and especially in my neighborhood, what I found is that our utility companies usually offer home warranty coverage. I'm not sure what's through the provider, but they will just tack on the cost of the home warranty to your utility bill. So my neighbor gets his home warranty coverage through the gas company in our area. So that's pretty nice. And actually, he just calls the gas company's customer service number when he needs service. And it's worked just very much like mine that was privately placed. Now, I'm going to give you a little bit of a warning here. You can go to all these sites, fill out quotes, put in your information, and they will usually give you a number. You can put in your address and contact information and it will spit out the number. And that is the number that you would get charged if you subscribe. However, expect if you do that you're probably going to get phone calls from these providers. Usually they are pretty aggressive about calling you to say, hey, I saw that you filled out a quote. Can I get you some more information and answer any questions? They do want to sell those to you. Just keep that in mind. In some ways, if you want to avoid that while you're doing your research, what you can do is just Google it. And a lot of people have shared what the premiums are. Sometimes those numbers can be hard to find on the provider's website. This was just a quick overview of how home warranties work, what to think about if you're considering it, if you're a homeowner, a property owner. If you have more questions on it, please feel free to reach out to us. Any one of the coaches would be happy to engage with you and help explore what you need to feel more comfortable with more peace of mind in your home.